Hello there, oh you beautiful people. My name is Lebushki, and welcome back to another movie review. This time for the movie Evil Dead Burn. Now, prior to this movie coming out, I had seen absolutely zero of the Evil Dead movies. Absolutely zero. So I didn't have much intention on, seeing this movie because I figured, well, I got to know the rest of the series leading up to this or that or whatever. I wanted to have all the background information, all the lore and everything. So I didn't plan on seeing this. However, HBO Max came in with a clutch and put all the Evil Dead movies on their streaming service. So I was like, well, what else is there to do? And so I binged the Evil Dead series. Fun series, crazy series, creepy series, weird series, bloody series, to say the least. But Evil Dead Burn was one that I was like, well, I've seen all the previous movies, might as well go see this one. And I have to say, I was really, really, really impressed. One of my biggest problems with the original, like the very, very first original movie, was that, it was kind of classic. It was very stereotyped, very stereotypical in terms of how horror goes. Dumb kids all by themselves awaken ancient evil. And, you've seen it, it's tried and true, and maybe it worked a lot better back when it came out, but since then, we've had so many movies replicating that it just, like, it lost its charm. I enjoyed Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, those were great, and then the 2013 Evil Dead was meh, and Evil Dead Rise was also pretty meh, but still enjoyable. So, I was kind of expecting another meh movie, enjoyable, but nothing great, nothing amazing. Just, yeah, I saw the newest Evil Dead. It was cool. End of sentence, moving on, That's what I was thinking it would be. But it wasn't. And like I said, I'm very impressed with how this movie went. But let's just hop right into it. This movie is unapologetically brutal and stylistically violent. All the Evil Dead movies are very violent and brutal. This is kind of the staple of the series. But this one, and I saw a lot of people online being like, the violence just never ends. It's just so brutal, so terrible. And I mean, I didn't mind. I didn't care. I thought some of the gimmicks and everything were pretty heavy metal, pretty hardcore, pretty spooky. But they've been kind of doing that the last couple movies, anyways. It never really felt like something different to me. You know, it just seemed just as violent, just as gory, just as holy crap, that just happened as the previous 2. So I don't really know where the complaining comes from. I guess people were expecting there to be like a break between the violence, but no, it was just heavy metal all the way through. Crap was hitting the fan and spreading like mad. And I honestly loved it. It reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 7. I There's been a lot of movies that have been very Resident Evil 7-esque in my mind. And, Resident Evil 7 was the Resident Evil where you're playing as Ethan Winters and you go to the Baker family in isn't it like Louisiana or Tennessee, down in the bayou area. Tennessee is not a bayou, so I'm gonna think it was probably Louisiana. But the whole family has been corrupted and they're all crazy and evil. They chop off your hands and, you stitch your hand back together. Typical Resident Evil stuff. But this was kinda similar. The whole family's gone crazy and evil. They'll try to take your hands, stuff like that. But it was very entertaining, and especially one of the things I enjoyed was that there was a great meta narrative and thematic depth centering around abuse. One of the things I felt was missing from the Evil Dead movies was a central narrative theme, one that kind of one that was going beyond the typical violence or typical, one-dimensional characters. I wanted something a little bit deeper, a little bit more in-depth, something to kind of give the movie or the series a little bit more spunk. The original movie didn't really have much character depth. They were all kind of just stereotypical characters. The second one gave Ash some more depth, and the third one, those were just those were just great. Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness back to back are just hilarious movies. Then the revamp of the 2013 Evil Dead tried to do a little bit with the drug addiction subplot, but it kind of faded out really easily. And even Evil Dead Rise tried to do a whole, like, family, love your family, be with your family subplot. I just didn't think it really worked out well. And again, I felt like they kind of forgot it. But this one, I didn't feel like they forgot it. They kind of they kind of focused on, relationship abuse, familial abuse, all sorts of abuse, and how that scars and I guess brings the evil dead out of all of us, if you will. But it was just it was very impressive to see a plot that felt more than just, yeah, we got to kill these evil dead people, and that was nice to see. I also think that this, barring Bruce Campbell, of course, because he's the goat, has some of the strongest performances of the Evil Dead series. Our main final girl was great. The the father, I can't think of his name, was also fantastic. So was the son. I mean, and really, honestly, the entire family were great at what they did when they, got corrupted or turned or whatever turn of phrase you want to use. All of them were fantastic from the moment that they were on screen to the moment that they died, if they ever truly die, that is. But it was just truly fascinating and very interesting to see such excellent performances in a horror movie because sometimes you get hit or miss performances in a horror movie. It's not the thing that people tend to focus on. There's a lot of other elements that people tend to want or acknowledge before performances in horror movies, but I think performances in horror movies are greatly underrated. Additionally, this movie was wonderfully shot and captured. It was very impressive. There was a ton of one take scenes that are just absolutely gorgeous. There's a whole fight scene in a car that was shot very well. Reminded me a lot of the Deadpool and Wolverine fight in the van, but a lot less funnier. But there was a lot of really great, really interesting fight scenes and just pure insanity unleashed. And I loved that. It was such an enjoyable theater experience because as I'm watching this movie, everyone else around me is reacting to the crazy, crazy, crazy amounts of gore, violence, and everything. I'm just like, holy crap, this movie's freaking insane. But everyone's out here, you know, like cringing and yelling and screaming and surprised, and I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty cool. And I was like, there was literally a point where there was just like a beautiful one take shot, and I literally just said to myself, I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like verbally, out loud, like a little dork in the theater. But like I said, it was very good. And honestly, this is probably my favorite Evil Dead movie. I know a lot of people want to go for Evil Dead 2 or even Army of Darkness, but I thought this wrapped up everything fantastic. It gave me the satisfaction I wanted from all the different uh, narrative threads being tied together, an actual plot beyond just we've awoken the dead. It was fantastically shot, acted, sound design, everything was perfectly creepy and unhinged and exactly what I wanted. I know a lot of people were saying it was a French director, and the French have a quite the history with horror and going kind of crazy with it. Well, that's ever really a problem, but I was very, very, very impressed and very happy with this final product. And honestly, I hope this guy makes another Evil Dead film. I don't know how he'll top this one, but it was pretty freaking awesome. So that's what I have to say about that. And I give it an A 95 out of 100. There's a couple things missing that could have been better. Nothing super crazy, but I would have changed, just the tiniest couple of things. But regardless, this movie rips. It was a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of freaky, perfect amounts of everything. And that's all I have to say. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed another movie review. As always, go see a movie in theaters. Movies are meant to be seen in theaters. Doesn't have to be this movie, could be whatever movie you want. But go see a movie in theaters. I'll see y'all in the next one. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I've been your host, Lebushki. Take it easy. Peace out.